Okay, anyone feel the need to tear this movie apart?
I do not understand. That is literally what this movie should be called, because I don't think I really understand.
Oh, and so just in case you don't know what we're talking about the new movie Demolition with Jake Gyllenhaal if you've seen the
I
trailer.
think Jake Gyllenhaal was good in this.
Oh, yeah.
The thing with this movie is it's just kind of all over the place. Like, without reading a little usurped about it, you really have no freaking clue what's going on. From the intro
right
to the
in
movie
my
all the way
eyes.
through, they never really tell you what's going on.
That doesn't help.
Okay.
You can kind of imply the title as the movie goes through, like you finally start figuring out why they call it Demolition, but other than that, I just don't, I understand some of the life and psychological impact stuff, but I just don't understand this movie. I mean, it just literally went all over the place, then came together, and the moment I start actually piecing things together,
It ends.
yeah, it ends.
I think it's about the grief process, how people deal with
Or
it.
if you just aren't, you don't know you until something snaps you too. I mean, you gotta think that was a lot of the whole point of the movie. Like, think about how he changed. It wasn't just grief process, because grief didn't hit him at first. Grief hit him later.
Well, he was.
And it's just like,
sort
until
of grieving
something
in a way.
traumatic happens, you may not even know who you are. You may just be doing things like an automaton. I guess that's kind of the concept of this movie at first. Then he starts grieving, then he starts figuring himself out, and who he is, what he loves, what he doesn't love, the kind of person he hated being. I mean, I understand all these concepts, but this movie just, I don't know, it's just kind of all over. I don't have a solid thing I can say about this movie just because of the transitions. Nothing adds up until the very end of the movie, and then it ends.
I thought the subplot with the kid was interesting.
I at least liked that part. That was, up until right after that, where everything got very upside down, for a lack of better words.
I didn't really find it that hard to understand, but I can kind of see why this is a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. On one hand, I do think it's an interesting character study. It's a guy who
Or a
hasn't
psychological study.
Yeah, it's about a guy who hasn't really cared about anything, not even his wife. But then when she dies at the beginning, he starts caring about everything. I mean, he calls about a vending machine malfunction.
Yeah,
takes apart a stall door.
The story really begins with that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like...
But then on the other hand, it's kind of a generic lonely guy forms an unlikely bond with like a woman and son kind of thing.
Yep.
And yeah.
And then she wasn't really happy either, and she starts finding her happiness. The son starts finding out who he is. I mean, it's like literally it takes one guy who's finding himself out to make everyone else find themselves out.
It's really about self-discovery, you know?
Yeah. I do like the director's editing style. He directed Wild and Dallas Buyers Club. Especially the beginning, right after the title appears, and it goes through like brief blips of stuff that came before.
I didn't really even notice the title.
You know, this movie was written by Brian Sipe. He wrote The Choice. Very different movies, yeah.
Yeah.
You mean he wrote the Nicholas Sparks movie?
Yeah.
Well, then again, I guess it makes. I mean, Nicholas, he was probably forced to follow a structure of a book, and he's like, and he wasn't that interested, I guess. And this one, it was a bit more what he wanted to write, I guess. I don't know. I didn't find it that confusing. I kind of got what was going on for the movie, but I never felt confused. It wasn't like, I don't know. I've seen way more movies where I'm just like, what the heck happened? I thought like Pirates of the Caribbean 3 was more confusing than this movie.
Well, I mean, I understood general concepts of this, but it was still kind of bits and pieced together, like kind of all different locations. Like, discerning the main track is a problem in this movie. Like, where you want to first start thinking and processing this stuff, they don't really let you process one thing before diving into several others. And before you can process those, they dive into several others beyond that. That's what I found confusing about this movie, is before they really let you process mentally kind of what's going on with the person, they kind of snap into the next thing. I mean, I guess it's kind of like saying you are the person going through this stuff, because it doesn't... I mean, if you are actually a person in these conditions, you're not going to process it in slow, understandable methods. It's going to race by you.
Well, life isn't really necessarily straightforward.
If there's anything I didn't really get, it was just his fixation on demolition. Like, at the end of the movie, the kid directs him to like a view of 3 buildings toppling over.
Well, it's probably because it's something he needed to kind of blow up his life so he can fix it. I guess his life was kind of blown up by his wife's death, and I guess he needed to find a way to fix it, I guess, in a way.
Well, I mean, his thing is his boss, who is also his father-in-law, tells him a thing. And that's what led to this.
Oh,
literally,
man, that's
sometimes you got to take things apart, put them back together again. Well, he never figured out how to put them back together again. He just kind of liked taking them apart, and that was what it was.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about, but eventually he did because his life was kind of in shambles, but he did kind of, in the end, he kind of, not exactly, I guess they didn't show it so much, but it is, I guess this is a movie that you really need to think about, I guess, more. I don't know. But I don't know, I liked it all right. I didn't hate, I actually kind of liked this movie. I didn't love it, but I think I kind of liked it. I didn't, especially the acting. I thought the acting was good. Gyllenhaal, Watts, and
Chris Cooper, yeah.
Cooper was great too. Mostly the acting for me, I think, was the best part of this.
Yeah.
I think, and the kid too. I like the kid. He was very good. I would like to see him in more things.
I suppose I would like to see him still more with that attitude. He seemed, more with it than most kids his age. I mean, in this movie, at least, that's one thing I could appreciate about him. He knows the world around him as it is, whereas most kids his age are really... And sorry for if this sounds a little insulting, they're a little brain dead to notice that a lot of times. I'm sorry, I have my opinionation.
It's right. It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Insulting to everybody.
I think we should wrap this up just to get in.
Yeah.
Well, it's all right. It's only
Henry, 1776. Great.
Yeah, so we have a little bit more time. It's fine. Don't worry. And even if a movie actually doesn't actually start at 7:30, it's just that's just when the trailers start. And even before that, they still got to do they got to do the sneak preview of the Huntsman movie anyway. So and then
the M&Ms. Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, but so. But I guess I don't really have much to say about this, but
chocolate.
What?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know. He just does that.
But
Just shout.
But I thought it was definitely an interesting film for the most part. I mean, I've always like parts of certain movies where they destroy stuff, like in Zombieland. There's that scene where they break a bunch of stuff. I was like, just like that. Like
sometimes you just want to destroy stuff.
Yeah,
it can be a lot of fun.
I like the destruction scene of all the dishes and whatnot in the movie Martian Child.
Yeah.
You ever seen that?
No.
Okay.
No. You just have to occasionally go and blow something up!
Or shoot a gun or kill a nun. No, actually, don't actually do that, don't. But,
did you just kill a nun?
Well, no, there's a song where it's like shoot a gun, kill a nun or something.
Alright, well.
I don't even understand anymore.
Okay, well, I thought this movie was alright, so B-.
I'm going with that, too.
Okay.
I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna give it a B. It wasn't the most amazing film. And it's not something that I really feel like people need to go rush out to see. Maybe if it's something like if you find it on if you rent it on DVD because you're curious, I think you'd be just as well there too. But if you really want to see this movie, then go ahead. But I'm just saying that for me, if I just saw this on TV, I would have been fine. I'm like, that was enjoyable. Like, I wouldn't have been like, why didn't I see that in theaters? Or I wouldn't pout. So what do you give it? I give it a B. So.
Let's I guess a C or C minus.
All right.
So, like, there's only one new trailer we haven't talked about because
Yeah.
there's a couple trailers that John hasn't seen, but that doesn't count, John.
Yeah.
So, the only new trailer we have is the Big Splash, the film with Tilda Swinton and Ray Fiennes.
And Dakota Johnson.
And Dakota Johnson, and I forget the other guy's name. I always forget that guy's name. But that looks good. I think it looks good. What do you guys think?
Okay, not during the review, John. Okay,
Yeah.
Bigger Splash. What exactly is going on in that trailer?
They're like, she's a rock star or something like that.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Ray Fiennes is
Tilda's-
like an old boyfriend of her, and he brings his daughter along. And she's also with this other guy, and I guess something bad happens when he shows up because he's kind of
yeah.
destructible guy. It looks good. I'm gonna give it a yes. Definitely looks interesting.
All right, well, see how it turns out when it,
What do you think,
when
John?
it
Would you
comes.
give it yes, no, maybe, or?
Maybe. I mean, Ray Fiennes is always enjoyable to
I like
watch.
how we have like in that movie we have like 3 people who were in movies based on popular books. Tilda Swinton was in Narnia. Ray Fiennes was in
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, and then Dakota Johnson was in 50 Shades.
Yeah.
So they're all movies and based on popular books.
Okay, so we got Hardcore Henry in 10 minutes.
Sorry, this review wasn't very long, but we're trying to rush here.
Yeah.